Hello and welcome back to another Space Engineers showcase video. In today's video, we're looking at another small fighter, and this one is very similar to the one I showcased the other day with folding wings. This is the Risha Mk4 glider, which is this lovely thing sitting over here. So this is another small block ship that features a bunch of rotors that will fold out its lovely wings at the front, where you can see those glass panels running along the side, and it has a secondary set of rotors at the back where it will fold out a very small tail to make it look very impressive. Pressing F10 and finding it in the spawn menu, the Risha Mk4 is 827 small blocks using no mods and no DLC packs. But it does have a script on here which is the thruster subgrid manager, which allows thrusters to work on subgrids such as rotors and hinges. So giving this thing a thumbs up, we'll move all the way around to the very front. My character can now just bugger off into the distance. There we go. We'll have a quick look around the outside. Then we'll play around with the controls and I'll show you how all the wings fold out. So at the very front here, this is what we get. We've got ourselves a lovely glass cockpit with a small seat control seat to fly this thing around. On the left and right hand side, we can see two Gatling guns, which are the only form of weapons that we have on this ship, with some atmospheric thrusters just below there to help us stop. If we were to move it around the side, we'll then see our small seat control seat right at the very back there. We've got a lovely window access with an LCD screen with some arrows pointing to make sure you know how to get in and out. If we were to continue along the side, we'll just ignore the wings for the moment. Coming across to this section, we've got a bunch of hinges that come across onto another hinge, onto a blast or edge block, onto a hinge, onto a magnetic plate. And this is our folding landing legs, where we can click a button that will undo the magnetic plate, and it'll fold up, and it'll be nice and flush with the rest of the ship, just covering up this section right here. Just behind this landing leg, we can see a conveyor going across to our connector, a gyroscope, a couple of atmospheric thrusters, some more gyroscopes up and above here where we can see a few atmospheric thrusters, and that hinge is what's going to come across onto our wing. For the wings themselves, they just come across onto some rotors and they will just fold out. There are multiple wings tucked behind here, which is only possible due to the semi-recent update which changed block collision. I'll show you them folding out a bit later. Moving across towards the back there, a couple of reactors for some additional power, some fantastic use of our steel blocks, some decorative pieces along the back there, some hydrogen thrusters for some additional thrust to push this thing around, and coming towards the very back here, some more atmospheric thrusters, and here's our secondary set of wings that will fold out, and we can clearly see the rotors there of how they're going to actually rotate around. There we go, just coming through the middle there. And there we go. If we were to come all the way down and underneath, now the thrusters are turned on because if I were to turn them off, the ship would just fold backwards. So just staying there to make it nice and level. So hopefully you can see what's going on. But it's just a bunch of thrusters there, some lovely use of our armoured plates. Comes all the way across to here where we can see our connector, our gyroscopes and how everything's been connected up, as well as the landing leg on the opposite side. And there's the very front, just coming all the way up and above and looking down, there's our glass cockpit. There are some more atmospheric thrusters, some more good use of our armoured plates, some more gyroscopes, and then we can see our conveyors going towards the very back, just connecting everything together. And there we go, there's the wings on the side, and there is the tail. And that is a very brief look around the outside of the Risha Mk4 glider as it is in standby mode. So what I can do now is just grab hold of my character. We're going to come across into the cockpit through this lovely little window here, so we're just going to hop inside and then get into there like that. And now what we're going to do is come over to tab number 1, and we're going to undo our landing legs. Just coming across to here and then pressing number 6, we'll see that they'll unlock and fold all the way up, and now we can fly the ship all the way up like so. Just pressing number 8 and now turn on our hydrogen thrusters, we can now go through the hotbar, and you'll see how this thing folds out. But starting with number 2, this is how we're going to change the angles of our main wings. So we'll also bring the free camera all the way over. We're just going to look at it like so. Pressing number 2, the wings will simply fold all the way down so they're completely flat with the rest of the ship. Pressing number 1 is going to be for our master toggle, which is going to be for all of our wings, so the front ones and the back ones all together. And there we go, that is it in all of its glory. Looking down, that's how it's all been set up. Getting a bit closer look at the wings there, we see how they've all been just laid on top of each other with very, very little gaps between them. Just come across at the front to those rotors. Then towards the very back here, here are our secondary wings for our tail. We've got some more good use of our armoured plates. And that's how it looks like from underneath. So it was just to retract them back for the moment. There we go. Then press number 3 and number 4. These are manual controls for the front wings and the back wings. So pressing number 3 will be purely for the front. Pressing number 4 will be purely for the back. So there we go with that. Number 5 is for our cruise controls for our atmospheric thrusters at the very back there. So pressing that will just turn them off at the front. And we'll start moving so we are at an angle until we turn them back on and it'll come to a stop. Number 6 we've already seen, which is our landing legs at the front there, where they just fold all the way down. So there we go. Like that, very simple yet very effective. And number 8 is simply for our hydrogen thrusters all the way around the ship, which just give us an extra bit of push when we're flying this around. And of course number 9 is going to be for our Gatling guns at the very front there to blast our enemies with. On tab number 2, 3 and 4 we got nothing else, ignoring that one because I added that in myself just to see what happens when we turn off all the thrusters. So now we can fly this thing around. Just grabbing hold of my character and retracting the wings out. What we're going to do is some very fancy cinematic flying for a second. We're going to angle the camera like so. Now we're going to fly this along. Then we're going to deploy the wings. And there we go. It does look absolutely glorious with how it's all been set up. And there we go. We can see the back there now folding and opening. There's absolutely no effect on the ship whatsoever while we do this. There's no risk of it randomly making the ship veer to one side. It's all perfectly safe. So there we go with that. And as of course for flying this thing around, going forwards it's going to take roughly 6 seconds. Going backwards it's going to take roughly 12 seconds to reach maximum speed. Left and right is going to be 14. Then going up and down I couldn't really test properly because the planets I'm currently on, well, the atmospheric thrusters just cut out because this planet is very odd. This one that I spawned in is a custom alien planet, but it is so close to the edge of the atmosphere that atmospheric thrusters can't really operate too high. Yes, it is generally overall very well distributed with its thrusters. And of course for mouse controls, this is what we get. We are quite floaty. There is a tiny bit of weight on here. And you can see we are maxing out the power a little bit when all of our thrusters fire at the same time. But if you fly this normally, it's not going to be too much of a problem. And there we go, that is pretty much it, what the Risha Mk4 glider has to offer. It does look absolutely glorious with how it's all been set up. And I am a sucker for the folding wings on ships. So what we can do now before we run out of atmospheric thrusters and, oh, it's getting very, very dark over here, is, well, slam this into a mountainside. We're just going to come across to here, we're going to bring the sunlight back around. There we go, that's nice and bright. And that'll be a nice target in the distance. In fact, we'll go for that one right over there. And yes, in first person view, we've got our artificial horizon and of course our speed right there. And looking down, we've got our generic screens. But yes, that is it for this ship. There'll be a link to it in the description below if you do wish to download and play around with it yourself. I highly recommend you do. And I'll be back with another video sometime soon. And that was a very, very unsatisfactory crash, wasn't it? It just didn't do anything. The glass panels at the front there just absorbed the full speed of the crash. Yes, thank you all for watching. Bye bye.